Thank you, Ellen. Well, it sounds as if there's a car alarm going off just as our next competitor sets his dog up across the field. And the next competitor representing Scotland is Neil Gillon with Boss. And Boss has gone out to the right. He is sired by Maguire Jim, owned of course by Sergio Pereiro Galdon, and out of Denwyn Moyer, who is owned by Ricky Hutchinson. So a very well-bred dog running up across the field, owned of course by Neil Gillon. He only started seriously running dogs in 2009 and 10. He was a shepherd for around 30 years and then went off self-employed to pursue trialing further. He's been 8 times in the team at 11 attempts. His dogs are dogs that work, dogs that run at trials, and they need to earn their keep on a daily basis and also step up to the mark at the weekends. Boss is totally different breeding from his previous dogs with Sergio's Jim and Ricky's Moya, but he rates him as maybe the best yet, but he just has got to prove it now. Neil says his hobbies, well, his work is his hobby. He contract farms 650 ewes and summers 45 cows and looks after another farm of 450 sheep and 40 cows. Plus he helps out 2 other farms. His family, the dogs, and work are basically his life. But he enjoys that, especially meeting up with sheepdog people, having a laugh and a dram, and all the fun and competition that goes along with it. And there is a story where his previous dogs have a H as a second letter in their name, but that's maybe not relevant now because he's running Boss and he couldn't fit a H in there. 2011 is his second national. It was his second national. His first attempt in the team. The driving champion, he was 3rd. He was 10th in the Supreme. International driving champion in 2013 with Boy and his young son Sweep, which are both in the team. And so he's a very successful handler, and he's looks to have had a good start. He's a real competitor, isn't he, Paddy? Neil Gillon.
He's a real character anyway. But no, he was, I remember he was 3rd in Supreme in 2018 there with his dog Sweep. And he won a national with him in 2016. He was in the Supreme final there, or maybe, well, he was in the Supreme anyway, or he was in the International in town. I can't remember whether he made it Supreme or not. Sweep would have been young that time, but he still won the national. This didn't get off to a great start. The let-out man was still just working him a little bit, and they got off to a bit of a fast start. I haven't seen Boss run before, but like you say, Hugh, he's fierce, well-bred. Yeah, Neil, this dog has a super pedigree. His boy dog, his famous boy dog, was actually registered on merit. He was indeed a registered dog, but he'd never been registered as a pup, and Neil had to register him later, which is an expensive job. But the boy made up for it.
Yeah, so again, in relatively young dog at 3 years and 8 months, Paddy, and these young dogs, the old adage, of course, was they're not at their best until they've got at least a year under each foot.
Well, I've been up at Neil's place before, and I've run his trial there actually on the hill there a few years ago, and his ground is definitely nothing like this. And this dog will have seen a lot of it. He'll have done a lot of mileage and he'll done a lot of work.
Hey, lie down.
The line looks about right there, but as we keep saying, it's quite deceiving on the TV screen, and we only get to see when the sheep blank out the hurdle as they've just done there, and then the hurdle blanks out the sheep when they turn. So good turn there from Neil and Boss. I'm sure that Wendy will be watching on as well. And as I was saying yesterday, Paddy, the drive, a lot of people don't look at the drive as 3 legs, but I was taught that you got your first leg of the drive, the cross drive, and then the return leg of the drive is as important as the other two, because you're judged all the way back into that ring. I think I'm right in saying that, aren't I?
Well, if you're being judged by a good judge, you'll be getting judged all the way back there anyway. One that knows what he's doing, you sure will. So we were saying before, maybe you mentioned this yesterday, International was here a couple of times before this. And in 1991, another Scotchman walked out here, and he won this International. And it was Bobby Dale with Wisp.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind betting it. Bobby's sitting watching this somewhere, or he might have a pigeon on his lap, but he'll be watching it and taking note. Because he's gone from the sheepdogs to the pigeons now, I've been told to believe, so I can guarantee that if his pigeons are as good as his dogs, they'll be fairly handy.
So these will be very different sheep to the type of sheep Neil is used to working there. He farms blackies there. It's all blackies up around him as far as I know. But he's seen it all. He was a competitor in the World Trial. He made the final there in the last World Trial, 2017. And he was in it with his 2 dogs. I think his 2 dogs made the final that year. And maybe Sheep made it as far as the semi-finals and Boy was in the final. I can't remember just what it was. But I remember Neil saying, I think he went out fairly early and he was getting used to those Dutch sheep, and you know the way they'd be so comfortable with a handler and all. But he joked with me after. He said he was watching it later on and he realised that he had gone about it the wrong way, and he was saying, can I go again? That's the trouble with these things. We know so much in hindsight.
So these sheep today, they seem to take offence a little bit more than yesterday. Paddy, yesterday they seemed to be quite forgiving, whereas today they're a little bit different in their attitude. And
they're just tightening up a little bit there on Neil, I'd say now, and he's trying to string him out, and he's not doing much wrong, and neither is his dog, but Neil was also in the final of Away with Dogs 2 there, Kerry Rundle's programme there, where she had 15 of some of the best handlers in the world competing. And I really did enjoy watching Neil shed there, and he told me that he changed his style of shedding a little bit, and here it comes. Oh no. But I think I remember him saying that, you know, he'd become more patient about shedding, and he looks to be very patient here. It'll be eating up a bit of time on him though, and he'll be aware of that too. He'll want it to come off here now fairly shortly.
yeah, you were saying about patient and taking time with the shed. I've been watching a few videos of some of the great handlers, and a couple that come to mind immediately are Jim Cropper, of course, with his very famous shed, and Gwyn Penmachno, because he could shed in a sixpence. And a lot of these handlers use them as their mentors, of course, Paddy, and he'll be hoping for a bit of a magical moment to come now, just for that gap. You only need that gap, just enough to get your dog to come. And it comes. So regather now then, Paddy, and then take him over to the pen. And I'm sure he'll be mindful of the clock because he'll have a look at his watch as he works his way across. So Neil Gillon now then lining these sheep up. Yesterday we were saying that they were aiming those sheep for the hinges on that gate. And
I remember a few years ago I was down trialing in Cornwall, and Tony Rolfe said to me, he said, when you're bringing them in, he said, steer them for the hinges. He said, that's the place to aim for. And so I've tried to do that ever since. But I'd be thinking about that and I'd be setting up for my approach, and everyone here is doing the same there. And it's a nice mixture of dog and handler. Neil has to come in and tidy up his side now.
of course you can't touch those sheep with the gate, and the judges will be watching for that. And just gave the gate a bit of a clatter there. Sheep back out, and he'll be going back. So he'll be looking at his watch. Dog goes. But again, you can't rush him into that pen because you're winding him up before you get him into that ring. So Neil now then will be looking for the single to complete his run. Set up well there for a second because you had a collared sheep at each end, Paddy. Giving the crook just a bit of a wave there.
It's not really the dog's fault there. I think he hadn't just quite got him in the right position, and Neil took a step back to try and make it the right position, but it just didn't happen. And it's hard taking him on the head. It's a bit harder, but I think the dog was a little bit out of position when Neil called there.
Like we said yesterday, Paddy, when those sheep are aware that you want them, they get a little bit piggish and a little bit more determined to stay with their friends. But he's taken it. And the single has been taken. And Neil Gillon, representing Scotland, has completed his run. Lifts his hat to the crowd. And here with that Scottish thistle on his